Maybe she is great.
She is not Miss
Sharon.
I'm Gabby, that's Jordan.
Red flag, red flag.
I'm sure, I know I'm the villain in that story.
Hi.
I'm Gabby.
I don't think we need to talk like super loud, but like just like a little bit. A little louder than usual. My mic broke.
So we're using a different mic. It's
I'm
not
really upset.
going well. So if it's a little quieter, sound is weird or different today, we're sorry.
It shouldn't be too different. We're just using a different mic. But anyways, welcome to season 2.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's season 2.
It's crazy. We're on what, like 4, 8, 12, like 15 episodes now?
More, right? No, I don't know. It's like 4 a month. You're right.
Yeah, 12.
You're right. Wow, we're just trucking. This is season 2. We are starting season 2 with a whole new theme.
Yeah, we're gonna talk. What are we talking about first?
True crime.
And then we're gonna talk about conspiracy theories because we're loyal to the foil.
That's Jordan's favorite thing to say right now. And then we're also going to do like Tampa tea. We're going to talk all things Tampa, all things influencing.
If you have questions about influencers or like, I don't know, like brand deals, stuff like that, definitely ask.
Yeah, because we're going to be formulating all of that here soon. As far as the crime and conspiracy theories, we're excited for that because I'm a huge true crime junkie. I listen to all the podcasts. I do all the things.
I'm not as much, but I think I've gotten more into them only because it kind of ties into what I do for a living now. Yeah. So it's more interesting to me than it was before.
Yeah, I actually went to school for criminal justice, so like I love it. So we're gonna talk today. We're gonna kind of get into that. We're also going to share celebrity murders with each other. So I'm sure you've heard about both of these, but we're excited to kind of dive in deeper to those and talk about those. We're gonna do our best job of being like the true crime YouTubers.
I'm gonna try.
We're gonna do our best.
This is not my forte.
I don't want anybody to sue us if we get a fact wrong.
Please don't come after me.
Don't sue us.
I googled. I didn't even use DuckDuckGo.
We used Wikipedia. No, but I'm comfy and cozy. Ready? I'm wearing a robe today. Wait, should I like demonstrate?
Do a spin. Yeah.
So backstory behind this, I feel like she deserves a shout out. I went shopping with our friend Courtney the other day, and I pointed out this robe, and it's so soft. Like the camera's never just gonna do it justice. It's so soft.
Wait, pause. We didn't even wear glasses.
My glasses are.
Honestly, we're very fake. I'm so sorry.
We started season 1 without glasses. Or season 2.
Yeah.
Season 2. Wow, I'm just tired.
It's fine.
The robe is just messing with my head. Well, next episode I will make sure we have our glasses on. But yeah, no, we were shopping. I felt this robe. I was like, oh, it's so soft. I went, you know what? I could probably find it cheaper online because it was kind of expensive. And I went online later and looked, and it was not anywhere to be found. And I texted Courtney, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, can you find it? I can't find it. She couldn't find it either. This girl the next day drives back to the mall, buys it, picks it up, and leaves it on my porch. And she goes, surprise, it's a present. And I was like, ma'am, you can't buy me this robe. And she's like, just consider it like a bridal gift.
It is a really nice robe.
It's a really nice robe.
I think I might go buy it when I leave here.
They don't have any more. This was the last one.
That was the last one?
Yeah, and it's not online anywhere.
What mall did you go to?
International.
I wonder if they have it at my mall.
Well, try it. Please do. But, like, I couldn't even find it online. So, like, that's why this is such a... She took the whole love language of gifts and she took it a step further. She was like, not only am I gifting you a present, I'm gifting you a present that we can't ever get ever again. So, I'll be living in this robe for the rest of my life.
If you're online and you have this robe, please DM me. I will buy it from you.
Poshmark it up. Yeah. I don't even know what it's called. Like, we're gonna have to look at the tag to see, like...
It's from Victoria's Secret, right?
It is, but, like, you know how, like, things have a name?
It's, like, thick with thin at the same time.
It's not waffle. I don't know.
No, it's not waffle.
And it's, like, super soft, but it's not fluffy.
No.
It's so weird.
It kind of reminds me of, you know, that's what we have to do.
What?
While I'm here, I have to show you how to put your duvet cover on.
Now I just made my bed.
Of the insert for the duvet cover.
Oh, okay.
But, like, not as fluffy.
Yeah. You know? I think that if they made towels in this material, I would buy 80.
Oh, 1,000%. But they would never dry.
Yeah. But they'd be so soft. What if... Okay, I want a blanket in this material.
I wish they had like the head wrap in this material.
I bet you they do. Fuck, Victoria's Secret, if you're out there listening, we'll design a line for you.
Maybe.
No, you don't want to?
I don't know.
I guess
Aren't they
Victoria's
like
Secret's controversial.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I don't really care. This road is really comfortable.
I'm pretty sure they have like a documentary now.
Mm-hmm.
Have you? Wait.
I watched it. It was fantastic.
I feel like this is kind of on brand right now. Have you seen the documentary for the Playboy Mansion?
No.
You should watch that one.
Okay, you watch the Victoria's Secret one. I'll watch the Playboy Mansion one.
Okay. Yeah, you definitely should.
You've worn this on this before.
I know. I didn't realize that.
Wife of the party. And you're making fun of my robe? I love this. This, people who are sensory, this would be for you.
Stop touching it.
Also, I actually, here's a funny story, and then we'll get into like what the theme is actually, but I feel like you need our little personal anecdotes before we start. The other day I was going through my old camera roll, like on a backup phone that I had.
Yeah.
And I found all these videos at a rave that I went to because, much to everybody's surprise, I used to be a little bit of a rave girl. But
okay, I can see it.
There was this girl that I was with, and like I'm not huge into drugs. It's like not my thing. I'd much rather get drunk. But she had done a ton of Molly, and I have this video, and she's watching those guys that do the light hands.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Come here, we have to demonstrate for the crew." She's like this close to him, and he's like got his hands here, and she's going. So I feel like your hoodie would do so great in that scenario.
Well, if anyone wants to come over, do Molly, I'll wear the sweatshirt. and you can just.
So yeah, that's what your sweatshirt reminds me of.
Well, okay.
Reminds me of Tori.
So, fun fact about this sweatshirt, you can't wash it.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Yeah. Because they'll just fall off. Well, okay. Anyways.
Back to true crime. Yeah, no, I absolutely love true crime.
We're having a guest on this month.
2.
The cop.
Yes,
yeah.
Right? Bree's a cop and she's on here, and we have another one.
Yeah.
Potentially, but we're gonna keep that one kind of hush hush until we know for sure. But we're very excited about all of our guests for this season. Honestly, we have some great ones. We're getting good old Kyle on here.
Yes.
So we're excited about that. Yeah, we got lots to do. So do you want to start with your celebrity murder first, or should I start with mine?
You can start with yours.
Okay. I am doing, and I feel like this one's a very popular one, but I feel like a lot of people miss a lot of the details. So I am going to be doing Sharon Tate.
Yes.
And the Manson cult murders.
Okay, but who it was Sharon Tate?
Sharon Tate. Okay, so Sharon Tate was one of the most promising new actresses.
Okay.
She was known to be very bubbly and exciting, and she was like up and coming. She was not the star yet, but like she was on her way there.
Okay.
Unfortunately, she'll live in history as this, but her goal always, and there's a lot of, I think, quotes saying basically where she was like, I just want everybody to know my name. So it's kind of sad now when you think about it. Yeah.
Wait, is she in anything?
Honestly, I did not look up her specific movies. Yeah, she has been in things. Let's take a look. Sharon Tate. I mean, I could literally IMDb it. Let's see. But yeah, no, The Haunting of Sharon Tate. Oh, I don't know if that was a documentary maybe about her later on. Valley of the Dolls, The Fearless Vampire Killers, Rosemary's Baby. That's the one that I have seen, is Rosemary's Baby.
Okay.
Eyes of the Devil, Don't Make Waves, The 13th Chairs, Roman Polanski, which I also heard is one that she's really well known for.
Okay.
Wait, no, sorry. Roman Polanski is a 2008 documentary, and Roman Polanski was one of the people murdered, I believed, as well, or the murderer. I need to check that.
Okay.
Did not do enough research on that, but I recognized that name because I saw that in the murdered stuff that I was reading. There's a lot of documentaries called Roman Polanski. So I'm assuming that has to do with someone that was either murdered with her or something like that. So, I mean, she had quite a few coming up.
Yeah.
But, it wasn't something where she was the next Audrey Hepburn yet. She wasn't there. This was back in the 60s. Her death date was August 9th, 1969, to put into reference for you. Rosemary's Baby is the one that I most notably know. So if you want one to go watch with her in it, that's what I would pick. So August 9th, 1969, her and I believe it was 8 others were murdered at their house. Now, this is the wild thing that I thought was crazy. Um, so let's start with like talking a little bit more about like Charles Manson and what that was all about, why they were even targeted. So Charles Manson was a dude that literally was in and out of prison his entire life. He was also a musician. Um, Charles kind of used prison to collect people as cult members. So every time he was going in, he was like collecting more people, which I found really interesting. Um, so he was collecting those followers in jail, and a lot of his followers testified that Manson would encourage the group to take massive LSD trips and take lower doses himself to keep himself in check, so he could really start to influence and get in their heads while they run drugs.
In jail or when he was out?
When he was out. So like after he had like got these cult members, he would like really encourage them all to like trip on LSD. And then kind of encourage them to let loose. He'd get in on their insecurities. He'd find like ways to target. Sounds a lot like an MLM to me. That's what I'm thinking. Just, not really. So it was basically like there's a quote from one of the guys that was in his cult saying, Charles's trip was to program us all to submit. So like he was never tripping to trip with them. He was tripping to like influence them more. So I just find that interesting. We were just talking about like Molly and stuff like that, but like this, he used drugs as a full manipulation tool.
Okay.
So I think this was actually one of the first like real pop culture-y times where we saw like LSD playing a part in murders, which was interesting. But like basically all these people were supposed to be like LSD'd or coked out the whole time they were committing these murders. So he's formulated this.
It's giving bath salts.
Never forget R.I.P. bath salts. So that's kind of like where Charles Manson was at. He created this cult, and the reason that Sharon and all of the others on the estate ended up being targeted actually had nothing to do with them. So Manson went on to later say that he explained that the motive for the murders was not the identity of the victims, but rather the house at that address, which had previously been rented to a record producer, Terry Melcher. I probably said that wrong, but Terry Melcher, an acquaintance of Manson. So essentially, Manson decided he wanted to target that house because the previous owner did not want to give him a record deal.
Okay.
So it had nothing to do with the people in the house. It was just
that's like one of my biggest fears.
That somebody comes to murder you at your new house because they wanted somebody else there. Mm-hmm. You think about that? That's like
all the time.
It's a thing that lives in your head.
In my apartment, yes, it lives in my head rent free.
Why?
Like you can ask like Matt. Like I make sure all the doors are locked, even the sliding door. And I'm on the 3rd floor. Like I'm on the top floor. All the windows are locked before I go to bed. Like I.
And you live in an apartment. It's not even a house.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not worried about anybody killing me here, and we have a ghost.
Where's she at?
Oh, Harold?
Well, show yourself.
It's actually funny, not to tangent, but we're going to tangent. I posted a TikTok yesterday, and a girl commented, and she's like, did your door just close by itself, like with the wide eye emojis and like a ghost emoji? And you see in the video, and it does, the door closes by itself. And I was so unbothered because it was just Harold. Like, I know it was Harold. And she's like freaking out in the comments. I'm like, no, it's just Harold. It's fine. We do. Our house is 109 years old. Our ghost likes to hang out in the closet. That's like, he hangs out there. Blue barks at the closet all the time. She does not like Harold. They've learned to coexist. I'm dead set. I don't want to tell too much. We're doing like a ghosty episode. I'll tell more about.
You're gonna tell that? Okay.
I'll tell more about Harold on that episode. But yeah, we do have a ghost. So yeah, I don't know. So
anyways, yeah. So
I get your fear, but like I don't because I've never thought about it. Now I'm sure I'm gonna think about it.
No, you're going to now. But like, yeah, I always think about that because a lot of murders happen that way.
I mean, it's fair. I never thought about it.
Okay.
It was wild though because Manson was sending them there to do this over like old beef, but like it was a completely new house and a completely like new construction. So like it wasn't even the same house.
Oh, wait, I have a question. So he's an infamous murderer.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, technically, actually, I don't, and someone might correct me if I'm wrong, because like I said, we researched these 5 minutes before we started. So like I am giving you raw facts that I just like found.
Yeah.
But I do believe from my own memory, he actually never did any of the murdering.
That's what I was gonna ask. Did he do any, or
Well,
did he just send people?
so I do have his arrest charges at the end of all of it. It's
Okay.
Manson was convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder for the deaths of 7 people, including the film actress Sharon Tate. The prosecution contended that while Manson never directly ordered the murders, his ideology constituted an overt act of conspiracy. So technically, he still went to jail for first-degree murder and conspiracy
He
to commit murder, but he did never tell them to do it.
was he on death row?
They were all on death row, and then they took them all. So I actually have that written too. All received the death penalty, but the sentences were commuted to life in prison after California abolished the capital punishment in 1972. So he died in jail. And I'll talk about his death at the end of all of this, but they were all on death row and then got taken off death row because California. I don't know. How do you feel about the death penalty? That's a good question.
I feel like this is controversial a little bit.
That's okay. That's okay. I think that people like controversy in the sense that the people that listen to us are all open to all opinions, so I'm not worried.
I don't have a strong opinion on it, if I'm being honest. I think that taking a human's life, no matter what, is terrible, but I also see the good in the death penalty as well, as
Okay.
in, like, you're taking a very horrible, horrible person off of this earth who took the lives of other people.
Okay.
But I don't have a strong opinion on it. Like I would with other controversial topics. I don't know. I don't like death like at all. Like it makes me super emotional, even if they
Really?
did deserve it. Yeah,
I don't ever see you get emotional, so that's
I
interesting
know.
to me.
It's like weddings and funerals are like where I get the most emotional.
Are you gonna cry at my wedding?
Yes, I cry at every wedding.
I hope you cry
I
at my
cry.
wedding.
I've been to funerals where I didn't know the person. I'm like bawling my eyes out. But I think the death penalty is really interesting
Okay.
because I don't know how much I want to tangent into this, but there's a lot of people that are on death row that necessarily aren't guilty and they've been found guilty.
Yeah.
And I know that at that point it's like, no, we need to not do that. But like I'll use Ted Bundy as an example. Death penalty, yes. Justified.
So, okay, coming from I'm gonna full on criminal justice major you here right now. I did my thesis on this, so I'm actually very passionate about death penalty
Okay.
versus not. Like, I did a whole thesis on it. It took me the whole entire year, and it was a 20-page paper. So, like, I'm pretty dedicated to this thought process. And I was trying to look at the actual numbers because I know they've changed in the last year, and I couldn't find them. I'd have to dig deeper. So, if that's something people are interested in hearing about, I'd be happy to like post them on my story. But it's actually, and I'm taking emotion out of it.
Yeah.
It takes so much more money to put somebody to death than it does to have them in life in prison. And people always go, why would that be? Like, if you're ending their life, you're not paying for them for 70 years. Like, that
Yeah.
doesn't even make sense. The reality is the amount of money spent on appeals, your last meal, the lethal injection, the security maximums, that all the steps you have to go through in order to kill somebody in the prison system, it ends up being like hundreds of thousands of thousands of thousands of dollars more.
Yeah.
So as a taxpayer, I have a problem with that because we pay for that as taxpayers.
I mean, we pay for people sitting in jail right now.
We do, but it's less money for them to sit in jail. And for me, I guess on a personal level, it comes from a perspective of, okay, they get to sit there with their thoughts and they have to live with that for the rest of their life, whatever. Like, unless there's such a threat that I feel like, oh, they could escape from prison, oh, they could kill more people in prison, then yes, maybe the death penalty is the right route and I'm okay with paying that extra expenditure. But for me, I feel like it's a waste of our taxpayer dollars to put people to death. And from a morality standpoint, it doesn't seem like that's our duty.
Wait, I have a question. So you were studying criminal justice.
Mm-hmm.
And you wanted to be a lawyer.
Yes.
Did you want to be criminal defense, or did you want to represent?
No, I wanted to be a DA, and
Okay.
I worked for a DA for years, and they all talked me out of it. It's
Yeah.
a lot of hours, not enough pay for the hours you're doing. I mean, the attorney that I worked for was incredible, and I'm not going to say her name just in case that's not appropriate, but she worked in Colorado Springs. She was a great district attorney. I worked for her for so long, and she was only still making like $75K, and she worked like 7 to 7 every day, and like was still paying off her law school debt, and like I remember like my last day, like she had herself and then a couple other district attorneys who every now and then, like when she didn't need me, she'd float me off to,
Yeah.
and they all talked me out of it. They were all very like, you don't need to do this, like blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. And at that point, I had started applying and looking at like what I wanted to do for law school, and I kind of talked myself out of it. I fell into marketing. I had been working in marketing in college for this guy that owned a hat company. So I just decided, okay, fine,
But
I'm gonna
you
try something else.
wanted to represent the, I would say, like, the victim in the case, not the
The
bad guy.
victim, but I mean, really, in the end, when you're a DA, you're not representing the victim; you're representing the state.
State, yeah.
You're
But
prosecuting somebody.
you're
But
going
yes,
against, yeah. So
yeah,
it's funny that you say that because
you do the
I
opposite.
do the opposite.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, I kind of like that.
So one of our best family friends is one of the best defense attorneys in the state of Colorado.
Yeah,
He's
you
very
told me
successful.
his name, yeah.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Another name I'm not going to drop on here. I grew up with his kids. He's incredible. Sweetest, kindest man, too, so you would never expect it. But he represents some of the nastiest of the nasty. And, like, he gets death threats. He gets all this crazy
Yeah.
stuff. And that's just, like, A, not a life I want to live. But B, I also don't know how he does it. I don't know how he disassociates at work and then comes home to his 4 kids and is all smiley. Like, I don't get it. I'll never
You
understand.
think about it at night, sleeping.
Yeah.
Like,
Which, that poor man.
because you get attached
Yeah.
to people.
Well, and it's like, I'm sure there's been people that have come through his doors that ended up being innocent. And he was really like relieved he could help them with that.
Yeah.
But more so than not, I'd say 90% of the time, he's representing very bad people.
And because Matt wants to talk to me about this all the time. We talk about the Ted Bundy case and like how Ted Bundy was like, he went after sorority girls because he was just like so attractive and like
Which I don't even
he,
think he was attractive.
he had this like suave to him,
Mhm.
right? I see that so much. Like it's crazy, but like I see it in other people that are criminals.
That's so scary.
It's so
See, I
scary.
just couldn't do it.
And
I
like
couldn't.
sometimes like when I talk and then like I hear what they did and I'm like shook. Like my body just like stands still and I'm like,
You're like,
this is
great.
freaking crazy.
No, it's wild the stories that go into that. I like I said, I got a lot of experience, and since I worked in I went home and worked these summers in Colorado Springs. And that's still considered, it's growing now, but when I was working at that DA's office, it's a small town.
Yeah.
So you know how like usually there's rules like, oh, you're not a lawyer, you can't like be, up front, like you can't be
Yeah.
behind the bar, stuff like that. I got away with everything. So I got to sit on one of her cases. It was a domestic violence case, and I got to sit up there with her because she didn't have a second chair. So I was her second chair with like no legal rights to
Yeah.
that. She let me help pick jury. She would correct me if she thought I was making a wrong choice,
Yeah.
but like I got to like be like, no, let's get rid of them. Let's keep this
Yeah.
person. Let's get rid of them. I'd help her formulate those questions. So it was really cool because I did
Yeah.
get to sit on that case, which I got to play lawyer, like real life lawyer
Yeah.
with a real life case, which was also kind of intimidating because like you fuck that up and like that's somebody's life. But I ran the slideshow for all the pictures.
Jury trials are so cool.
They're so
Like,
cool. I miss
the
that part of it.
amount of work that goes into a jury trial and then like like final statements and like every like going back and forth, it's just so interesting to me.
Well, and even this case, it was a very cut and dry. Like they had all the evidence they needed.
Yeah.
He was like gonna get arrested. He busted into her house and he had done it. It's not his property unlawfully, and then he beat the crap out of her and her daughter. So it was like, and this was like a reoccurring theme. So like he was already on for trespassing, like
Yeah.
because they found him there. Like he was going to jail. It was a very cut and dry case. It took about 3 days, honestly, but like jury took more than half of the time.
Oh yeah.
And it was just wild to see like how that operated. I love that aspect of it. That's I think what my favorite part. It felt like I was like the lawyer version of The Bachelor. I was like, you can go, you can go.
You get a rose.
There was this one man that was like intentionally trying to act crazy because you could just tell he didn't
Yeah.
want to be there. He was like, no, I'd beat my wife, and we're all like, no, you wouldn't. Like he just didn't want to be there. But so that was really cool to do. There was another case that was mind blowing to me. We were not the lead attorneys on it. She was second chair for somebody else. So I just got to sit in the court and watch it.
Yeah.
This guy, and this is actually a really popular case, you can look it up in Colorado Springs. So we have this place called Gold Camp Road. So for all my Gold Campy kids, you're gonna know exactly where this was. They found a body on fire up at Gold Camp Road, and it was an old woman. Well, lo and behold, this guy had broken into her house, whatever, like killed her, robbed the place. He was mentally insane, but the kicker of the trial, like, it was a wild trial because, like, we don't have, like, a lot of murder that I used to hear of growing up in Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
So, like, that was wild because it was a murder case. But it was more so this guy showed up every day. He always, like, did his hair really fucking crazy. It was one of those high risk ones where he had to be chained down. Like, they were like, because normally, for those that don't know law stuff, and I know you know this, like, they try and avoid that bias with the jury. Like, you don't want them in shackles or chains. They need to look nice because we're not trying to create a bias that they're already a criminal. Well, this guy had to be chained. It was like mandatory because he refused to change out of his clothes. He would yell in the middle of court. He would cause a scene, like, but would yell like weird things. He'd just be like, and you'd be like, "Are you good?" Like,
Did he have like Tourette's, or was
no,
he
but
doing
he
it
was
on
trying to
purpose?
plan. Like, you could tell he was trying to get an insanity plea for
Mm.
sure. So, like, it was just wild to watch that case. That case went on for like maybe 10, 15 days, and it was just
Yeah.
out of control. So that was kind of like, if I wasn't working in the office or on a case with her, she'd be like, okay, go down to the courthouse and just watch whatever. And I just walk into different courtrooms. A lot of
Yeah.
traffic tickets I've walked in
So
on.
many traffic
So
tickets.
many.
There are so many traffic tickets in the state of Colorado.
Mhm.
Like, I'm convinced there is a police officer planted like every 100 feet.
Yeah. Well, I loved going to like docket ones and just like having the lawyer up there and they're just going down their docket and they just have like people filing in and they're like, they don't even know the client yet. And they're like, what do you plea, or like, are we,
Yeah.
you know, like that kind of thing. And it's just, those are interesting because it's just like a ton of people just lined up in their chains and they just go up and they see the judge and like, what do you
Yeah.
plea? And then like they put that file aside and then they get, it's
Just like
funny.
shuffling. It's so
That prison experience. I remember
my mom
one
is like
time.
the real life like scared straight.
I love them. I have that, like, the one time that I went, it was like a JCC program. It was like
Yeah.
a juvenile detention center, and I went because we had a client in there.
Wait, hold on. JCC just gave me like Jewish community vibe.
Oh, you're
Jewish
right.
Community Center.
That is the Jewish JDC
Maybe.
Department, Juniors Department of Corrections or something. I don't know.
Juvenile.
Yeah, it's juveniles. I don't know. We went in there and that was just wild
Yeah.
to see in itself. I was like, I could never come back here and I'd be okay. I just sound good. It's like you got teenagers jumping on tables and screaming, and I was like, I don't want to be
That's
here.
that's it. I feel like you're like a teacher at that point. Like, what is happening?
You
like,
are.
It's like a kindergarten teacher. Like, everything is out of control.
I think kindergarten teachers would make the best juvenile detention center guards.
Honestly, probably.
I think that they
should really start putting teachers,
you know, who
to go in there.
Great at being great in a juvenile detention center.
Don't say her name. Who?
Kelsey.
Oh.
How'd you like that?
Kelsey would be like, sit down!
She'd be standing on the table. She'd have this like giant, like 15-year-old boy that's like 10 times bigger than her. And she'd be like, who would you think was going?
I don't care. Get in there right now. Like, she would. Oh yeah.
This is the highest of compliments, Kelsey. The highest.
Oh yeah. She'd be good. She'd be a great prison guard. Oh my god.
That'd be great. Wow, career change?
They could.
Stellar?
I mean, I think they have height requirements.
Do they?
Yes.
Yeah, probably because you don't.
Yeah.
But what if she worked in a women's facility?
I think they still have height and weight requirements.
What if she's in a children's women's facility?
I don't know. I don't know.
What if we bulk on some pounds for her? If Bree could be a cop, Bree's the same height. Oh, sorry about that. We had to plug the computer in. So yeah, let's get back to Sharon Tate.
Yeah,
We've really sidetracked. Where was I in the Sharon
I don't
Tate
know.
portion? We were talking about death penalty.
Oh, yeah.
So I think from a moral standpoint, I don't really know how I feel because I haven't thought about it because I've spent too many hours thinking about it from like a political and economical standpoint. And I think it's a giant fucking waste of our money. So it's very hard for me to commit to that. But getting back to Sharon Tate. So they got into the house, and by they, I mean his cult, not him. And they stabbed Sharon Tate a total of 26 times. And the Emmy ruled that 5 were already fatal. So, like, they had already killed her at 5. So
and
the
overkill. They just kept
overkill,
going out of rage.
the overkill, insane. The thing that I think that is the most sad is Sharon Tate was pregnant. She was 8.5 months pregnant. So it wasn't even just like, oh, they didn't know she was pregnant. It was like she was about to pop. And that baby did not survive as well.
I have a question. Was it one person who stabbed her, or were they all stabbing her?
I didn't see anything about that. I don't know if that's ever like really been able to be determined. Because I mean, obviously, there's no survivors.
So, like, he basically wanted them to kill people for him, but like, was he there? Did he watch it? Did he get
Well,
videos,
that's
pictures?
what I'm gathering out of this is he wasn't there. He was just sending people out. I think it was a control kick. I really think he just liked being in control. I don't know. They then used Sharon Tate's blood and wrote pig on the door. Yeah. So a little, maybe TMI, but
Just
like,
vile human beings.
well, so there was another murder that was committed shortly after that the police took a while to connect, and it was of this couple. I guess the guy was like a big honcho guy at Walmart. And they did the same thing. They tied up the husband and wife, they stabbed them, and then they also used, I don't remember what they wrote, but they also used their blood to write on the wall as well. So like that's kind of like where that spooky whole blood on the wall thing started really in the 60s. Well, I guess this is almost 70s. It's 69, so it's in the 70s. So I feel like there was a lot of copycat murders after that where people were like murdering people and writing stuff on the wall.
Was Manson's family, were they involved in these murders?
So no, so it doesn't sound like he really had a lot of family. So I think he used this cult mentality to have a family. He did end up having children. He has 2 kids.
Are they alive now?
I believe so. Charles Jr., if you can believe it. Charles.
Imagine having that name and like just trying to like go to like high school.
You can't. Charles Manson Jr., born 1956, died June 29th, 1993. So I don't know why or how, but the tragic life and death of Charles Manson Jr. There was another kid too, and I don't know what it was called or he or she. Charles Manson, most well known. Oh, Jed. They had a brother named Jed, and Jed was killed at age 11.
How? Who? Why?
You look up why Jed died.
I need to.
Wait, hold on. That says Jay White's mother. Oh, no. I think this is something. I think this is talking about his mom. Because Jay White's mother married a man named Jack White while Charles Manson was still incarcerated for the auto theft charge. I don't know. That's something I'm going to have to deep dive on.
So he was just in and out on random things, like auto theft and stuff?
Auto theft, burglary, robberies, stuff like that. And that's how they actually all got caught. So they all got caught on unrelated charges that then later led to their arrest for the murders. They all got arrested for petty theft crimes, which is wild. Kids, I can't do kids. That's the other thing why I could never like really work in that field. I can't do kids. I just
Yeah, I know. I was listening to a jury trial recently with like a child. It was like child abuse case, and they literally started crying. Like when they were doing their final statements, I was like, this is terrible.
You'll have to tell me about it. It's wild to me that it's even a thing still. And we're gonna be talking about that, and we have to figure out how we can talk about that potentially at the end of this month with like good censorship, so like we can make sure this video stays up. But
yeah,
we're gonna be talking a little bit more about that.
I feel like that could really go into like almost a conspiracy theory, because I feel like with all the shit that I see on like TikTok and like what they're trying to push, I feel like they're trying to push us to like desensitize us towards that.
I totally agree with that. That's will play in heavily to next month when we talk about Balenciaga a little bit.
Yeah.
So I found a little bit on his kids. Basically Charles Manson Jr. ended up taking his stepfather's last name, living as Jay White. Living as Jay White for the rest of his life. He died of self-inflicted gunshot wound in Burlington, Colorado in 1993.
Burlington.
Yeah, I know, good old Burlington. So, I mean, I'm sure his kids had a very rough time, which is very sad because it's not their fault.
Yeah.
Also, like, if you're a cult leader, why do you have to have so many kids?
I feel like people don't understand that these days. What? Like, especially with like current cases that are going on, like you can't blame and attack the family because like truly they have nothing to do with what the family member did.
Well, if you want to talk about things that make me mad, I love Evan Peters, don't get me wrong, but the whole what's the one that just came out?
Dahmer.
Jeffrey Dahmer. The whole Dahmer Netflix documentary, that's Evan Peters. he's a fantastic actor. He can act anything. I love him in American Horror Story. I don't blame him for this, but when they put him in that role, women, especially and females, have idolized this and are now like, oh my God, Jeffrey Dahmer. And I'm like, you're disgusting.
Same thing when Zac Efron
Was
played
Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. And I just don't think that we should be putting hot shot big celebrities that people adore and love into these roles of very nasty serial killer people. It's kind of like back to a little bit like the desensitization that
Yeah.
Hollywood is doing. It desensitizes us and now makes it like where we're glamorizing a cannibal.
I don't think these videos or movies should be being made at all.
I think what's the most hurtful is they did not get permission from the victims' families for this Dahmer movie at all. And there was like an uproaring, and there's actually, I think, a lawsuit out right now because they were like, how dare you re traumatize us like this?
I didn't finish that because I think I got through like, it was either the first episode or like halfway through the second, and I was like, this is sick. Like, this is sickening.
I did finish it, but I think that I finished it more from the perspective of I already knew the story really well, and I wanted to see how much that they actually got right. Oh, but like I said, I'm a true crime junkie. Like I know all of these stories from podcasts, from research, from doing, my studies in criminology. Like I know all of that, but I watched it from the perspective of wanting to see like how much of it they got right, and they did get a lot of it right. And it was kind of interesting to see that, but then I felt so bad for those families. I think that the only way they should be making true crime documentaries, it should be when, like, it's almost like a weird. You have to have a lot of time pass, but I feel like it shouldn't be really glamorized or talked about until all of the families of those victims have passed on. Like those were moms reliving that, sisters reliving that. Like it's not far enough separated. This is still, as much as people are like, oh my God, it happened so long ago. It didn't.
Yeah.
And like you're re-traumatizing people that are still alive. Like if they had decided to do this in like maybe 30 more years and those people have moved on and passed on, then maybe it could be a conversation. But I just feel like re-victimizing families like that is just gross. It's just gross. But I know they've made tons of movies about the Manson murders. I think I was reading some of them off when I was looking up Sharon Tate, and it wasn't actually a movie she was in. But so they all got arrested.
Okay.
And like I said earlier, they all were on death row and then got taken off death row, including Charles Manson.
Reasoning they were taken off?
Because California changed their law and they no longer were allowing death penalty. So they took everybody off. It wasn't just a them thing, it was everybody in the state of California.
What states even have the death penalty anymore?
Florida does.
Do they?
Yeah.
I know Idaho does, obviously.
Let's look. That's actually a really good question that I would like to know the answer to. I'm pretty sure Colorado does as well because we have a couple supermax prisons.
Okay.
Where is the death penalty legal? Oh, wait, hold on a second. Why is it telling me California? Because that's not true.
Did they change it back?
Maybe. I know Texas, obviously.
I feel like
state by state death.
DeSantis just put out something talking about the death penalty.
Did he?
Yeah, in the state of Florida.
Okay.
I saw that.
Here are the states with the death penalty.
Okay.
Alabama, Arizona, Arkansas, California, which I'm confused, so I need to dig into that more. Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Nebraska, Nevada, North Carolina, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, and Wyoming.
Okay.
So Colorado ended it in 2020. New York ended it in 2007. So like they were.
Wait, so Colorado just got rid of it?
Yeah, so that's why I didn't think about it because like I remember when I was working there, that was fully still on the table, and I worked there in like 2017, so that makes sense to me. Actually, it was no like 2016. So yeah, Colorado got rid of it in 2020. They're the most recent state to have gotten rid of it. No, Virginia is at 2021. Virginia just abolished it. The one that abolished it the earliest on here is Wisconsin in 1853. They said no more death penalty. Isn't that wild? That was so long ago. Oh, Michigan, actually, I'm just reading all this wrong. Michigan was 1847.
The math ain't mathing.
Well, they're out of order. I wish they would put them in order. Has declared What is a moratorium? Do you know?
Isn't that
Because this says death penalty states with gubernatorial moratoria, and then California's on that list. So I'm wondering if that's like certain stipulations. Let me look that up. Gubernatorial. Oh, that's it. Relating to state governor or the office of state governor, and then moratoria. Somebody educate us.
someone's calling?
Somebody call in. A temporary prohibition of an activity. So it's a temporary cease on the death penalty for California in 2019.
Okay.
I'm confused by that because it did say that they took all of them off because of that abolishment of the death penalty in 1973. So maybe California's just been back and forth and back and forth and back and forth.
They just can't make their mind.
No, clearly not.
Typical.
Not press. There's a reason we don't live there. So they got taken off death row. Okay. Charles Manson, he ended up dying in 2017 in jail from cardiac arrest resulting from respiratory failure brought on by colon cancer on November 19th of 2017. So this is where it kind of got a little interesting. So he's dead. Like fucking 8 people came out of the woodworks and were like, we want his body and his estate. And they were like all trying to prove DNA wise they were related or stuff like that.
They want his body?
They fought over his body and estate. And someone ended up winning that and then cremating him. But still didn't win the estate. Like, they won his body, but not his estate.
So who won his estate?
No one.
Is it like a museum? Like what?
Hold on. I had that on here.
Let's go explore it.
Actually, look up. See where it is. I mean, it's in California, but like, where? I don't want to go to California. I could care less about that. I've been there, done that. I've seen it all.
You know where else I want to go explore?
Where?
Little St. James.
What's that?
Jeffrey Epstein's island.
Oh.
Do you know people go on that now?
That's
I mean, they get like chased off, but like, yeah.
So you want to go somewhere we're going to get chased off? That's what you want to do?
I want to just explore. Manson Estates, Florida, right down the road.
Wait, really?
Hillsborough County, no.
Oh,
not
okay.
the actual one.
I was like, what? Let's see.
Charles Manson Estate.
Okay, I feel like I have to read this for this to make sense. So let me read this to you.
Barker Ranch.
Death Valley, yeah, it's between Death Valley. I knew it was close to Death Valley in the Mojave Desert.
So they filmed the documentary at the mansion.
That would give me the heebie-jeebies if I was an actor. Who played Charles Manson?
That's crazy.
That's beautiful. Weirdly. So, okay, let me read this to you because it all make more sense.
Okay.
3 people stated their intention to claim Manson's estate and body, which is just so weird to me on the body.
Why do you want his body?
I don't know. Manson's grandson, Jason Freeman, stated his intent to take possession of Manson's remains and personal effects. Manson's pen pal, Michael Channels, claimed to have Manson's will dated February 14, 2002, which left Manson's entire estate and Manson's body to Channels. So his pen pal was like, no, the grandson can't have it. Then Manson's friend Ben Guricki claimed to have Manson's will dated January 2017, which gives the estate and Manson's body to Matthew Roberts, another alleged son of the Mansons. In 2012, CNN ran a DNA match to see if Freeman and Roberts were related to each other and found they were not. According to CNN, 2 prior attempts to DNA match Roberts with genetic material from Manson's failed, but the results were reportedly contaminated. On March 12, 2018, the Kern County Superior Court in California decided in favor of Freeman, so the original grandson.
Okay.
In regards to Manson's body only. Freeman had Manson cremated on March 20th, 2018. Very convenient if you don't want any more DNA tests. As of February 7th, 2020, Channels and Freeman will have had petitions to California courts attempting to establish their heir of Manson's estate. At that time, Channels was attempted to force Freeman to submit DNA to the court for testing. And that's where it's left. So nobody has any of his belongings, estate, anything like that.
Is it guarded?
I don't know. That seems like a lot of waste of money of somebody that's fucking dead.
Yeah.
That's dead. So
who had no good contribution to this planet.
Yeah. So that is the celebrity murder story of Sharon Tate. I know we made that a lot more about Charles Manson. But in the end, I guess they both were celebrities. So yeah, you got 2 for 1 over here.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I need to do more research because I know I kind of fumbled some of those facts. And for 5-minute research period that we did there, I felt like I did pretty good.
That was a lot. That was actually more than I have. I'm gonna be honest with you.
We'll both be more prepared. I'll be more fact checky, and you'll be more talky on our regular true crime episode.
Yes.
But like these celebrity ones, we literally decided this morning. We're like, I guess we'll throw celebrities in there. So let's hear yours.
Okay, so mine was John Lennon. Beatles, obviously. If you don't know who John Lennon is, you're too young.
Then you're a Gen Zer is what you are.
I feel like even Gen Z has to know who John Lennon is.
They were raised right.
Okay, did you know he was an asshole?
I could believe that.
Yeah, like he was.
I heard Yoko's a bitch too.
Really? Okay, well, yeah, no, he's an asshole. His killer, Mark Chapman, I'm pretty sure was his only killer. This is the only thing I find very interesting about this case. I'm not his only killer. His only, I think his only murder.
Oh,
yeah,
it was Mark Chapman's only murder.
Yes.
Okay. So he really hated John Lennon.
Yeah, wait till
this was a personal murder.
Yeah.
Well, Charles Manson, it wasn't personal. It was. What's the word for that? There's a word between like
a motive,
like his motive. Like there's familiarity murders and personal murders, crimes of passion.
You know what? Yeah. Okay. So, what makes me upset about like murders like that, or like really like brutal murders, when there's no motive, they just killed a random person.
Well, that's where it's on the line of you're not like it's not a like people can murder and not be psychopaths. I like people miss that, and I think some people might disagree with me, but like you can murder somebody and not be a psychopath. You can murder somebody because they hurt you, they hurt your family, they hurt your child. Like not even self-defense. Like you could really, really hate somebody personally and murder them, and I don't think that makes you a psychopath. I think that you have a rage issue and like a lot of other problems. But psychopath, the literal definition of a psychopath is like there's things missing in their brain that like they don't feel, they don't have emotions, they don't have other things. Whereas like a crime of passion or rage, you have emotions. You're not a psychopath. Does that make sense? Like psychopaths literally lack. So I also did a lot of theses in college. I feel like that's like what they make you do in criminology all the time. I did one on nurture versus nature.
Okay.
And as much as I think that both nurture and nature go into like the makings of a serial killer, the reality is they've done a lot of studies and a lot of serial killers have had head injuries and stuff like that. And when those head injuries happen, like your wires get crossed, things get mixed up, and you're missing emotional connection.
You're on too much LSD and cocaine. That's being fed to you.
Well, but that all affects your brain. So the literal piece of being a psychopath psychopaths and sociopaths are different as well, but both of them lack the ability to have emotional connection. So to me, if I killed my lover's wife, like let's say I'm having an affair and I want him to be with me and I kill his wife, that's a crime of passion, and I'm not doing that without emotion. So I'm not a sociopath or a psychopath. As much as we want to just like label people that way. By the like medical definition, you're not. So it sounds like this was his only work. Like
I
murder.
feel like when I hear the word murderer, I don't automatically think psychopath.
Good, because you shouldn't. Because like there's so many murders that happen that are not driven that way. But I think it's very easy for us to jump and be like, oh, that's a psychopath.
I do think every murderer has mental health issues for sure.
Oh yeah.
But like I don't automatically assume psychopath. Okay, wait. He's also schizophrenic.
So he had a mental illness.
Yes.
So it's not a psychopath or a sociopath. He's neither. I need to look up the definition of this, but continue telling your story.
So he was schizophrenic, but the reason that he killed him, which was 2 gunshots.
Okay.
When he was coming home, and he said he was jealous and enraged by Lennon's rich lifestyle.
Okay.
And
but those are emotions.
He wanted to do that, like he wanted to be famous.
Interesting. Was he a musician?
No, not that I can see anywhere.
He just was ill. He had schizophrenia.
He's also been denied parole 12 times.
Okay.
12.
Can you even ask for parole that much?
That's insane. No, like that's crazy. 12 times.
That's weird to me.
He's also said that he has, like, word for word, evil in my heart.
So do you think he's possessed? How do we feel about possession? Schizophrenia or possessed?
Let me read you this. I am not going to blame anything else or anybody else for bringing me there, said Chapman. I knew what I was doing and I knew it was evil. I knew it was wrong, but I wanted the fame so much that I was willing to give everything and take a human life. This was evil in my heart. I wanted somebody and nobody was going to stop that.
Wow. So he was like very intent on that.
Oh, look at his mugshot.
He looks kind of normal though.
He looks like a janitor at high school.
He does. I feel like I've seen somebody that looks like him before. He's got a very familiar face.
He also said, so he's so this is funny because he's actually in a New York facility. Not funny that he's there, but coincidental that he's there. So the board cited Chapman's selfish regard for human life of global consequence as their reason for keeping him behind bars. In denying him release, the board mentioned Chapman's action has left the world recovering from the void of which you created. I'm sorry, but I'm not still recovering from John Lennon's death. Also, he's serving a 20 years to life sentence. Kind of near where I grew up.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So he's still alive.
He's still alive. Yeah.
Wow. How old is he now?
I think he's like 64. Don't quote me on that.
Wow.
67. He's 67. He was just denied parole in August.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he's way younger than I thought. So how old was he when he killed John Lennon?
John Lennon died in 1980.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, John Lennon was 40. He was gunned down the night of December 8th, 1980.
I didn't realize how much that's literally basically 10 years after the Sharon Tate murder. I thought they were closer together for some reason.
I don't know. And he also, the guy who killed him, Chapman, also said, I heard a lot of people all over the place, and if somebody wants to hate me, that's okay. Like, I get it.
So he's ill. I bet you
Yeah.
if they put him on like proper medication, he'd like come to and be like, oh wow, I'm like fucked up, you know?
Yeah, but also that comes down to the fact of like, how many people are out there like
That need medical care?
not that, but like, well, yes, that, but people who are so obsessed with becoming famous and wanting fame that they will kill for it.
Well,
kill someone famous.
Well, think about even not necessarily because they wanted to become famous, but because like money and fame got to their head. Selena, Selena Quinte, I can never say it right. The Hispanic singer back in our day. Her agent killed her. So her agent or like her assistant was embezzling some of Selena's money, and when Selena started to figure out and was about to fire her, she killed Selena. So like
it just really makes you think about other celebrity murders.
It makes me start to think about celebrity deaths in general and were they deaths or were they murders, which we could go into that in conspiracy theories. But like, I mean, there's also so many celebrities I like that I I subscribe really hard to the fact that like apparently there's like all these theories floating around that like some celebrities have been replaced. Like the Avril Lavigne died years ago and now she's replaced.
I'm
like
more than subscribed. I put out the subscription. Like that's where I'm at with that.
Well, like, have you seen pictures of Avril Lavigne then and then now? And it's like,
oh, yeah.
She's got a completely different personality, different look. Like, it's a different girl. That's a different girl.
Yeah.
It's wild. Avril Lavigne, if you're out there, we miss you. The real you.
Katy Perry.
I miss Skater Boy. Katy Perry, I don't feel like was replaced. I've heard that about Miley Cyrus though.
She's
too. She's part of the Illuminati.
I literally can't even say it out loud. Because I think that like someone arrest me, put me in a mental hospital. Have you heard the theory about like reptilians?
No.
Another day. Another day. Another day, another time.
Jordan's off her rocker.
Again.
So I found the difference between sociopaths and psychopaths.
Okay.
And I found their similarities. Their similarities are, yes, neither of them feel emotion. Neither of them are able to like fully connect like a normal human being does. So they lack emotion. How they differ is and to me, it makes psychopaths way more dangerous. Psychopaths have had the ability to understand emotion, even though they don't feel it, which makes them master manipulators. This deviance is what can turn some of them into criminals in society because of these difficult empathize, because it's difficult, they have difficulty empathizing. They spelled that wrong, but empathizing with others. Um, they don't respect authority or rules, but they know how to skirt around them and avoid breaking the law. Like, so this is why like they're so dangerous when it comes to criminalization and murdering and stuff like that, because they're very, very smart, very, very good at staying organized and like if somebody's going to pull off the perfect crime, it's going to be a psychopath. Now, a sociopath are considered generally very disorganized. Many sociopaths are incapable of maintaining a normal or lasting relationship, both personal, professionally, and in daily life. Their inability to stay focused or to maintain some sense of order often results in difficulty obtaining or maintaining steady employment, housing, or relationships. So they're the opposite. They don't know how to manipulate. They don't know how to like put everything together.
Yeah.
But I think what happens with that is since they can't formulate bonds with people, they can't formulate emotions with people, it usually turns them to doing something drastic. So that would be more like our people that are like the Unabomber who just like showed up and was like, I'm down to like, well, he didn't end up killing himself, but like people that would be like, oh, I don't care if I get hurt, like I'm just gonna go crazy and do this because they don't have those processes to think about it. That would be sociopath to me, whereas psychopath would be, like the serial killers. I think serial killers are psychopaths and sociopaths are more of like mass shooters, things like that. Does that make sense?
So, have you seen Dexter?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. What's his mental illness? He's got to have one. He was OCD, right?
So that, back to my papers.
Oh my god.
That would go into my nurture versus nature kind of conversation. So do you feel like serial killers are born the way that they are and they're always going to be a serial killer, or do you believe that they're become one because of their nature? So, or their nurture. So like how they were raised, the experiences they have, so when I did the paper, I had to pick one to argue, and I ended up picking nature over nurture, but it doesn't mean that I actually feel that way. I just had to do that. I believe in both. I do believe that people can just be born sometimes without those connectors, and that makes them bad. But I also believe that if you grew up in a house and you were sexually assaulted, if like all of those different things, I think that all attributes to it. The nature comes in where I talked about earlier, those head injuries and stuff like that. That's nature. That's not nurture. Like that's nature influencing it. So it just kind of depends. But I think Dexter was a serial killer born out of nurture because he had that terrible mom. He was in that terrible situation. He watched his mom and his brother, all of that kind of stuff. And I think he was born out of nurture.
And then his wife.
Yeah.
Which really set him off.
I mean, he was already pretty bad before Rita. But yeah, no,
I
think he's a place of nurture. Like, because they even talk about it in the show of like, if he hadn't had that experience, would he be the way he would be? So that show heavily relies on nurture.
Well, in that show, it also shows like his dad knew what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
How many other parents are like that? That they want to protect their kid because it's their baby.
Kyle and I have actually sat down and had this conversation if like we saw the early signs, because since I have studied it so much, like there are signs that I think a lot of parents ignore. Harmfulness to animals, very rough with your siblings, like not in just like a normal like he shoved me way, like sadistically rough. Antisocial behaviors, not wanting to participate in school activities, not having friends, like those are triggers. And like not all of them separate are triggers, but altogether that's like that should show you that there's something wrong there. And Kyle and I have talked about it, and I think we would. This is gonna sound so bad. People are probably gonna disagree with me. If we really genuinely thought that that was something that was going to happen, we'd probably institutionalize them before they could hurt anybody.
Yeah.
If they are so mentally far off and they're already hurting people or hurting animals or like there's extremes, I don't really care how young they are. I think that they'd be going. There has to be programs out there. I don't know if they exist, and I know a lot of them are really toxic, but there has to be programs out there that like house people like that,
Oh, there has to be.
But of course, then you also want to, because it's still your child, you want to find one that's obviously not, abusive or like
Not shocking you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not shocking your brain. No,
Yeah.
I don't want studies done on that. Like,
Yeah.
so, but like, that'd be something where like we'd go and visit and we would participate in their lives still, but they would have to be institutionalized. I'm not going to be the mom on the news that is like, I had no idea my son was a serial killer. Like, I'm not doing that. That's embarrassing.
There's like this, and another thing I hate on the internet, like this, not even like a trend, but it's almost kind of becoming a trend, and it's like these parents like filming their kids like doing these like weird things, and they're like, should I be worried? Like, if you have to think that,
then you should be worried.
like, if you have to ask the internet that, maybe, yeah.
We need to get kids off the internet.
What happens to like, and I'm gonna sound so old, and I'm not old at all, I swear. But like, what happened to like going outside and like playing with your friends, like trampolines? Like, what happened to trampolines? And like, did you ever play the popcorn game?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I had a trampoline. I mean, you went a different direction than what I meant with that. I meant
Well,
like
like
we shouldn't be posting. I've got beef with mommy bloggers. I'm gonna upset somebody, but like I've got beef with mommy
yeah,
bloggers.
I think we're gonna talk about mommy bloggers like a whole episode, but like also not even like putting your kids on the internet, allowing your kids to consume the internet. And that's why there's such this huge mental health issue, and it's because they're consuming that. Your screen, this light on your screen is not good for you at all.
Oh, I know, I'm getting so
iPhones, if you read, I'm like getting too far into this right now. I literally can't.
The passion.
I'm telling you, just read the pamphlet that comes with your iPhone. Just read it.
I've never done that.
Just read it.
I don't have it anymore. Do you still have yours?
Yeah.
Bring it to me.
I will. But like, it's literally an addiction that's worse than like sugar, drugs, alcohol. Like, it's so bad.
So I think basically what we should do is, if we ever decide to have children, you're going to preach the side of that, and then I'm going to preach the side of we shouldn't have pictures of our children on social media because child porn is all over the place.
Yeah.
So much. Like, and I know we're going to talk about that, but like, the more and more I think about it, and the more and more, like, my friends have kids and everything, and then I see their babies all over the internet, and you have a non-private Instagram, and you have tons of followers. I'm like, you don't know who's looking at that. Yeah. You don't know, like, what fucking weirdo creepo is, like, jacking off to that later. Like,
I mean, we don't know who's jacking off to our pictures that we post, and I'm sure there's people out there.
But the difference is we're legal and we're adults. Yeah. Like, it's just, there's a creepy level to it. Like, there's an added element. I mean, I know I won't know until I have a kid, but I feel like I'm going to really be in a place where I really very rarely post my kid, and when I do, their face probably isn't in it.
I feel like I'd homeschool.
Kyle wants to homeschool, and I'm like, I don't have the energy. My kids are going to school. I need a break.
Either that or like a crazy strict private school or something.
Okay, cool. You and I have babies at the same time. I bring them to your house. You homeschool.
I homeschool.
Jordan's now my homeschool teacher.
JFK was killed by the government. That's my homeschool.
Jordan should not teach my kids. I retract my statement.
So my cousins were homeschooled, but it was like they went. So they were homeschooled, like, I think it was like 3 days a week, but then they went to like their homeschooling school like 2 days a week.
Socialized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think
like a hybrid.
homeschooling's like, I don't think it's bad. Because like that's parents' like main concern is like they're not getting that social level.
I think the hard part with homeschooling is now homeschooling is online, and if we're trying to get our kids offline, then like at least when they go to school all day, they're really not on computers, and like they're at school.
I was on computers a lot when I was in school. Computers and tablets. In high school,
I had a computer science class, but otherwise I was not on computers.
My high school was like
college. I had a laptop, but I didn't
computers
have
and tablets.
Oh, see, not me. And I don't know if that's changing at all, or like you'd have to look into the school and see what like they're doing.
Well, because they're pushing technology like with everything.
Well, that's because that's where our industry is heading. So kids do need to know how to use it if they're going to have good careers. I mean, tech is the way of the world right now, and tech people make a lot of money. So if you want your kids to succeed and have a good job, like they do have to know tech.
An hour a day.
Yeah. No, but so that's why I like the idea of like thinking about my education and my schooling. I went to school for 7 hours. And I didn't touch electronics. They like, no phones allowed, like, put them away, like, and then you come home and then you can do that. Then you can justify that hour or 2 hours watching TV later because you spent all day at school. Whereas I feel like homeschooling now, it's online homeschooling. So now you're going to spend 7 hours on the computer and then you're going to want to go play video games after.
You know what I really hate? Parents who buy their kids iPads.
I agree. Why don't you just have your own iPad?
And
And if
they're
the
like,
kid wants
well,
to look at
it's
it.
like, it's learning because they're doing the educational games. And I'm like, that's not the point.
Sounds like a cop out of you don't
It
want to
is.
teach them.
I don't.
You
So
want them
I
to learn the
saw this
ABC
like
game?
comparison a few months ago, but like when TVs first came out, they were so small and they had to be put like so far away because they're like that screen is like it'll like hurt you. Then they made a mini one and now it's fucking in our face all day long.
Jordan's heated. We've
I'm so
sidetracked
heated.
so far.
Anyways, I don't even remember what I was talking about with John Lennon.
We're not parents. John Lennon's dead. That's all we got for you this week. This episode is probably so long. How long?
An hour and 6 minutes. Actually, it's not that bad. An hour and 6 minutes. Our last one was an hour.
How did you guys feel about it? Anyways,
Please come back next episode. It won't be this chaotic.
Actually, I feel like it's only gonna get worse. We're diving into conspiracy theories. Like,
I mean, if you guys have any you want us to talk about, feel free. Shoot us a message.
Yeah, send them our way. We're excited about it because I feel like this is where we'll really let our inner freak flag fly a little bit. Not that like I'm not already weird. I'm like podcasting in a robe. I'll pop my collar.
I just really want this robe.
I know, right?
It's really cute.
Everybody go out there and get yourself Courtney. She listens. Okay. Well, I think that's really it I got for you today. What about you?
That's it.
That's it.
I went too off my rocker.
Well, thanks for joining us.
I'll get a new mic.